Introducing National Streaming Sports. Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports Network and the host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show, and you're watching Our Lady of Sports, Sonia Pearson, host of Prim and Proper Sports. Thanks for watching.
Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Today is January 29th, 2025, and I am your host, Sonia, host of Prim and Proper Sports. I hope everyone is doing well. Tonight is a very special edition for me because next week I will be in Hawaii celebrating my 50th birthday. So I just want to, first of all, thank God. It's such a blessing to be here, to be alive, and all of that. And I'm just eternally grateful. And so I hope all of you all are doing well. Make sure you download the Roku app so that you too can be in the know when we are live. The Roku app, that's what Mac and Linda, the producers over there at Northeast Professional Sports, always a great host. Lots of sports, 24-hour sports without the cost of cable. So hopefully you guys get a chance to get over there. And they're also on YouTube and Fire TV as well. And of course, my channel, Prim and Proper Sports. Guys, it's a absolutely busy time of the year. Hello, Yoli, Green Bay Packer fan. What's up, sis? I hope you're doing well tonight. Busy time of the year, guys, but not so busy as we are matriculating from the regular season into the postseason and now into the playoffs. So tonight looks like we are going to be having a guest, but looks like they are running tardy for the party. So I'm going to have to call my backup in because we only have 1 hour, guys. 9 o'clock sharp is what we do. And I want to make sure that all of you guys are doing well as well. But like I was saying, we got two big Super Bowl contenders, y'all. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, one of my co-hosts from the Friday Night with the Fellas show, J-Train, actually picked these two teams to play in the Super Bowl at the beginning of last season, like at the end of the postseason. And how fitting that the Super Bowl is being played in New Orleans, which is his hometown. So there's a lot of stir and a lot of controversy. Some people want Patrick Mahomes to get his third ring. Some people want the Eagles to win again. And of course, there's that chatter in the background of the cheating. The refs and the chefs is what we like to call them. There's actually a meme going around right now that basically has the entire country just looking for a meteor strike as opposed to rooting for either one of the teams. And so Kansas City Chiefs, only fans that live in that geographical area are rooting for them. And if you are in the northeastern part, only if you're in Philadelphia are you rooting for the Eagles. So it's going to be interesting. Jalen Hurts going up against Patrick Mahomes. The question's been posed: is Patrick Mahomes the MVP? Looks like he actually is, y'all. It's kind of like modern day Tom Brady, or maybe we'll give him that actual title once he actually wins 3 in a row. Maybe then we'll actually say he's one of the GOATs or the GOAT. Hello, Purple Zombie. But yeah, guys, it's just one of those things that as we look to February 9th, which will be the Super Bowl in the Caesar Superdome, then we'll actually have an opportunity to look around and see just what that looks like. Jalen Hurts been playing through some injuries. Of course, the end of the season is when the times that all the players are hurt. They're just still performing, maybe not at their best. He's battled a head injury, finger injury, and a knee injury. So, Purple Zombies, I guess you're saying go Kansas City. Go Kansas City. Say go kind of city. Guys, so with that, I've literally just saw that my guest has arrived. Thank God, because I'm like, I don't know how long I can continue to go on. It's been so long since I've had to do a show without a guest. Let me tell you guys, so y'all know, it's kind of my fault, y'all. I sent the link super late because I thought that my promo person had done it, and I've been out running the last errands and stuff trying to get ready for this big trip. And so it's kind of my fault. And he probably didn't know, but it's okay. We're family. Let me introduce you guys to one of the biggest Eagles fans, none other than Tony Cutillo. Before I bring him on, let me tell you a little bit about him so that you guys can know who he is and what he's about and how to follow him and find him on all the socials. Now, Tony is also the creative director, and PR of Rise React Media. If you have any streaming needs, check them out. RiseReactMedia.com. That's RIZE and reactmedia.com. He's also a very big Eagles fan. We talked about that. He's the host of the Tony Cutillo Show, and he's also the host of the Delaware Blue Coats. Let me introduce you guys to the first time, my newest member of the podcast family, Tony Cutillo. Tony, am I pronouncing your name right?
Yo, you got it right. Like that's and
Thank
listen,
you
this
so
is
much
not
for
your
joining
fault.
me.
It's all my fault. I'm always late. Just so everybody, I am always late. Trust me. So it's
Late is
all me.
great.
All
Late is
me.
great. I don't know if you saw me over here stammering and trying to keep the audience engaged, but I was like, okay, Tony,
No, you're
like
good. You did a
I
great
need
job.
you over here. I'm already texting like some of the Friday with the fellas, like, guys, I might need you. I don't know. Tony said he's coming, but y'all, like, I literally, for everybody that doesn't know, I started out doing the podcast by myself for like 5 years. I'm just up here for an hour, just reading stats. I mean, it didn't look like I was reading because I had a lot of it memorized. And just talking to the audience and engaging with the chat. And once I got on Northeast Professional Sports, Northeast Streaming Sports, I got spoiled because I got a chance to have, kind people like yourself to come on and join me. So, Tony, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Listen, you said it. Eagles fan, right? I'm in Philadelphia, so I'm on cloud 9 right now. We going to the Super Bowl, so I'm good.
You know what? And that's so funny because, we hear all throughout the season teams like, yeah, we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl. Now it actually is like you can legit say that. And tell us a little bit about yourself since it's your first time on the platform. If there's anything I missed, and how you actually got into the Eagles, if you're from the Philadelphia area, what that looks like. And feel free to stream this to your audience as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So I connected. So this should be on one of my YouTube platforms. Listen, I'm diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, born and bred in Northeast Philly. Live in the burbs right now, but you kind of covered everything. Listen, I do a lot of different things, right? And just like yourself, like you realize in this world you can't pigeonhole yourself. So when opportunities come, I just take them. Right. And if I take everything you want to give me, I'll take it. So you mentioned the Blue Coach, which is a great partnership I developed a couple years ago. Shout out to Alex Yo and Coach Joe Richmond. So we do the Blue Coach beat where it's a little different. Like it's not about the team. It's more about the power of basketball. Where we talked to some great legends last year, like people like Sharif Abdul-Rahim, who now is the president of the G League. Just a lot of different people. The Tony Cutillo show, which I just started probably I would say like 2 months ago. I've always done work on Sirius and things of that nature, but I was like, finally, I want to do my own thing. Like, you get to a point where it's like, I want to do my own thing. So I built something from the ground up. And then you mentioned Rise and React Media. That's actually my PR company that I started in 2019. So it's going 6 years strong. Doing all different things. So yeah, you got my name right. So not everybody's like Cutillo or you said Cutillo. So you got boom, you were good. So we gold.
Well, congratulations on that. It helps because people always butcher my first name with it being spelled Sonja. I'm everything Sandra. They're adding letters, they're taking letters. I just finally started responding to Sanja because at least they're using the letters that are in the name. I'm like, okay, I'll take Sanja. But yeah, you're actually joining me on a very special episode. This is my last episode of chapter 49.
Wow.
And Friday with the fellas, those guys will be holding it down while I am in Hawaii starting the celebration in the 50th state for my 50th birthday. So I'm extremely blessed tonight.
That's awesome. You're gonna have a good time. Yeah, it's first time you ever wear Hawaii or
yes, first time nice. I'm going to Hawaii. I'm such a big traveler, but I'm super excited to go to Hawaii.
Nice. That long flight, right? But
yeah, hey, like 10 hours. I got a 45-minute layover in Seattle, and I was like, bummer, I really need a little bit more time. So in case, I could get a couple of mountain pictures in case I don't know what the airport looks like. Coming back, I'm going to be in San Francisco for an hour and 10 minutes. So I'm a photographer by nature. I like to document everything so I can look back at my pictures and stuff like that later on. So I'll be like looking out the window to see if I can see mountains or what have you to be like, yeah, that's where I was at,
Hey, man, you got to have those memories, right?
Yeah, so good to have you on, Tony. We got a couple of comments coming in here, and greetings to everyone joining us. Thank you so much for coming on. Patrick Mahomes, my favorite quarterback. All right, Purple Zombies. Well, you got your work cut out for you. Tony, what is it like to be in the Philadelphia area and to just once again, because y'all was just here a few years ago, and if I'm not mistaken, Andy Reid was y'all's coach that won the Super Bowl. So either way, this is the Andy Reid Bowl, and I was on TikTok this morning, like 2:00, talking to some people, and it dawned on me, like, wait a minute, wasn't Andy Reid the coach of the Eagles when they won? And everybody was like, yeah, it's the Andy Reid Bowl. I'm like, how did I not realize that? And I'm like, so Andy Reid goes down in history either way, if he wins or loses, to be the only coach in NFL history that has coached against a former team that he won a ring with, if I am calling that correctly. What's it like to be in, this element in such a short span? You always hear that teams are built to go back to the Super Bowl every 7 to 10 years. You guys cut that time down.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man, like, it's a blessing, first of all, because it's so hard to get there once, let alone, a couple times. And, we were there, obviously, in the Andy Reid era. We didn't win, in the Andy Reid era, but at the end of the day, we still got there. Andy Reid's a great coach, man. Like, a lot of people are always like, oh, do you want to see Andy win, this and that? No, man, listen, I think Andy's a GOAT, man. Like, he's probably, one of the best of all time, if not the greatest of all time, next to Bill Belichick. So this guy has just emulated everything to what we wanted to build. So listen, to be in Philadelphia right now, a lot of people, there's a lot of hate on Philly, right? Everybody, we got the worst fans, we're the most ignorant. Listen, there's always a percentage of people within your own fan base that don't really represent what you're all about. Okay. So, and for some reason, which is fine, it's the way the narrative of the media goes. They always want to pick out those few instances to show, oh, these dudes are terrible. These people are like, that's fine. That's fine. We take it all in, put it that way. We take it all in. But when we're winning And we're like, this is a city like no other. I'm gonna be honest, like it really isn't. I mean, you have like I'll say this. What other team do you know that has current and former players and relatives that show up at a tailgate? Okay, like literally at with the people. Okay, no, just with the people and just funnel it. Nick Foles, which is a legend, was on
Yes.
Broad Street with his family. Darius Slay's what Jennifer Williams is at the tailgates every single day. Mrs. Ringo, Mama Ringo is at the game
Oh,
every single
wow.
they're there. Like you don't really see that. So it's just a special time, really is.
It's really big. And before we go further, let me give a shout out to Pink Fan First. She is the lady behind all the promos, all the reels, all the decor, and also Football Talk Bo. Bo Crouch does the backdrop here, the Prim and Proper logo you see. Bo is at the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama
Nice.
this week. Check him out. Football Talk Joe. Both of their contact information if you need fan decor. Pink Fanford does her own design. She does makeup tutorials and all that to be the ultimate fan. And so check her out. Their contact information is on the tickler going on the bottom. Tony, it's got to be extremely exciting. I mean, I have a lot of people that I know that are Eagles fans. My godfather, Ken, is an Eagles fan because he's lived in Philadelphia for a little while. Now he lives in North Carolina. You're right. You do have, sometimes the banter of, these are bad fans, but every organization has it. I mean, I'm a Panthers fan, and we supposedly got a bad owner because our owner throws drinks on people. It don't get no worse than that. But to rise above, all of the hoopla, all of the naysayers, like at the end of the day, it don't even freaking matter. Like we're here, we are in the top 2 of the entire league. No matter what happens, at the worst, we're number 2. Like no one wants to be number 2, but you definitely don't want to be number 32. So what's it like? Are people already gearing up? I mean, it's a few days out, a couple of weeks out. I know the hype is real. I mean, I bet you there's Eagles jerseys everywhere. We thought, with Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox leaving, that the defense at a minimum was going to be different for the Eagles. And last year we saw you guys nosedive 5 in a row. We thought last year was your year. I don't know what was going on in the locker room. It just looked like a different Eagles team. It didn't look like it was really performance. It looked almost like it was just personality with Jalen Hurts. We watched him sit in isolation on the field, on the bench by himself during the games. Just wasn't any cohesiveness. Looks like this year with them drafting Jalen Carter, the UGA defensive end out of Georgia, aka Breadman, that he's come in as a rookie and just powerhouse that defense, where you don't even notice that Kelsey or Cox are even gone.
Yeah, the injection of youth into this team has, I'll tell you what, when you have this amount this amount of rookies that are playing meaningful, not just meaningful, but starting minutes to take this to a number 1 defense in the NFL. It's coaching, right? At the end of the day, it's coaching. You have a corner, Quinton Mitchell, who is just locking people down. Cooper DeJean, who's just locking people down. Rookie Jalen Carter, just completely just destroying people up the middle. These are rookies. And you're not supposed to get play like that from rookies, right? You may get 1, but to get 2, to get 3, to get 4, it's unheard of. And listen, there was you mentioned last year, which last year I still can't put my finger on it. What I would say is I'm a huge Jalen Hurts fan. And he gets so much hate. And I think you can attest this as well. In life, people don't like people that are, I wouldn't say perfect, but that are really good at what they do. We live in a very jealous and hateful society where instead of somebody saying, hey, man, I would love, to be as good as him one day, they just want to tear somebody down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, nobody really understands, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, he went to school in a master's in communication. So to say that he can't sit up there and hold a microphone, he's been trained by himself. He has
Mhm.
an education that way. So, like, I stand for everything Jalen Hurts believes in is diversity. I know you know this, but his entire female staff, to where he says, "Yo, I'm gonna have the first female agent. I'm gonna have the
Mhm.
first female." Like, his whole staff is female. Why? Because he knows that they deserve the spot, that nobody else is
Mhm.
giving that to them. So everything besides football about Jalen Hurts is great. And last year, I'll sum it up with this. I just think that sometimes when you're too perfect within yourself and you're afraid to make those little mistakes, sometimes you do isolate yourself to where people are like, I don't want to really piss him off because if I do the
Mhm.
wrong thing, he's going to be mad. And I think it was just everybody trying to get that together. And you see this year it's changed.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see. And hello, J Train, James Martin. We were talking about him a little bit earlier that he did call this. I gave you a shout on that, brother. He says hello, good to see you on, and he said that Philly got this. David is taking down Goliath, and also Tasha shouts out Pink Fanfur as well. That's her sister-in-law, and so we were giving Pink Fanfur a shout out for the promos and what have you. I mean. And Purple Zombie says he's from Springfield, Massachusetts. Okay, well, Purple, you need to be getting with either the Patriots or the East Coast with these Eagles. You should not be rolling with, Patrick Mahomes. And so I will say Jalen Hurts, both quarterbacks are from Texas. That's the interesting thing. I know some people that know Jalen personally. He is a member of the Church of Christ and stuff, which is one of our sister congregations. I grew up in the Church of Christ. And so aside from him cursing a lot, I mean, you see CJ Stroud and you see other gentlemen on there that are like, God is good. And Jalen's out there. You're like, we did a hell of a job. I'm like, whoa. So, it's interesting. Excuse me one second. Sit down. I'm sorry. I have a pup here and he is
That's all right.
literally going crazy. Get up here. Get up here. Get up here. Sit down. You were interrupting my show. You've never done that. Come here.
I got a lot of love for the pups, man. Like, nothing
Yeah,
wrong
I
with
don't.
that.
He's literally. Get over here. Now you don't want to come over here. You want to be on
You
the
don't want to. You don't
spotlight.
want
Get
to.
on the
Oh, there
spotlight.
we go. What's up,
So
my
you get on the
man?
same color shirt that you have on.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. I like it.
This is
What's his name?
Lawson. This is Lawson. Everybody knows him. He comes on from time to time.
Nice.
But yeah, so everybody kind of hates on, like you said, nobody really celebrates, like, oh wow, they deserve this. It's always like, oh my God, Patrick Mahomes, chefs and the refs. It's kind of like the meme that's going around right now, Tony. There's a meme of the United States map. I actually shared it
Mm.
that has like, this is all the people that are rooting for the Eagles, and this is who's rooting for the Chiefs, and this is who's just looking for a meteor strike. And the Eagles are in Pittsburgh on the map. Excuse me, Philadelphia. Oh my God, Philadelphia area, and the Chiefs are out in the Kansas City area, and then the rest of the world is just grayed out looking for a meteor strike. I mean, how do you differentiate? Because we have seen the maturation, not just of Jalen with this organization. I mean, he hit the ground running after the Nick Foles era. And Tasha Mikia does say go Eagles. Okay. You got a lot of people that really want the Eagles to win. I'm one
I
of
like
them.
that.
I wanted Washington because they were the underdogs. And because Jalen hadn't been, Jaden Daniels had never been, he was a rookie, and Washington hadn't been in 30 years, or Buffalo hadn't been in 30 years. But I knew I had all these scenarios. Okay. If the Eagles advance, I need them to win it all, regardless. We do not want to see Patrick Mahomes get a third ring.
Yeah,
Tasha says
I'm with you
Pittsburgh
there.
is coming. I thought Pittsburgh was going to be that little upset team, but
Mm.
they weren't. So, I mean, Tony, is it as bad as what we see with people not wanting Patrick Mahomes to get a third?
I think it's not just about Patrick Mahomes. I think it's kind of the entire the Taylor Swift stuff, right? It's the Kelsey train. It's the
Yeah.
like, and it's no disrespect to anybody, but when you get things thrown in your face so much, eventually it just becomes like, oh man, like just like settle down a monotony like I'm done. I don't want to see like the first thing was, I had a laugh. I think it was yesterday. Instead of talking about, it might have been Yahoo, I forget who it was. The national story was, instead of talking about a three-peat that could possibly happen, which has never happened in the
Oh,
NFL,
don't tell me the first story was
right?
Taylor.
Yes, it was. You know what the first
Oh
one
my
was?
God.
What are the odds that Travis Kelce's going to propose to Taylor
Come
Swift at the Super
on.
Bowl? Yes. So that's why indirectly, that's why everybody's like, yo, man, I like come on with this already, And what are you going to do, right? I mean, she's a global superstar. I get it. But then you have the little things that trickle down where, people do complain about the refs because there are certain things to where, listen, we all know it's a business. The NFL is a business. So, it's hard for them to deny that they don't want the Chiefs there so they could get the Taylor Swift site, right? And to get the extra sponsors and the extra revenue. So, it's unfortunate because it's a great football team out there in Kansas City. And, unfortunately, it's going to continue with the hate. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and Tasha says Travis is never going to settle down. I'm going to tell you.
I agree. I
As
agree.
this is what they said last year too. I mean, she's trying to get him to look as unattractive as possible. Got him looking like one of the disciples running around here with all this dark colored hair.
Yeah, what happened?
He looks like Jason now.
I know.
And I'm like, no one cares about her reaction every play. Just because he catches a ball, I don't need to see Taylor's face. I don't need to see, I don't even need to see her. You can show her at the beginning of the game and at the end. I don't need to see her every first down.
Yes.
I don't need to see her when he's over there catching a breath. I don't need to see her when anybody else scores just to see her reaction because the Chiefs themselves have scored. She's not even a Chiefs fan. If I remember correctly, she was an Eagles fan.
Exactly. Well, she should have jumped ship because of her man, right? But like it's funny. I never even thought about, the whole, because I kept saying, he's growing his beard more, he's dyed his hair. And I'm thinking, I don't remember him. He don't even look like the same guy.
No,
like
she's trying to keep him out for them. She don't want. She's making him do the TB12 program like Tom Brady, where he's not eating gluten or anything. Thanks for the subscription, Purple. I appreciate you. And Tasha says she needs to go do a concert. Exactly, and do her. Like, I often think, if this is Beyonce and Jay-Z, and Jay-Z's, not rapping, but he's playing in the league. Like, first of all, I don't think Beyonce would go to every single game. But these Swifties are powerful. Like, you can't even say anything about them. They're worse than the Beehive.
I know.
I get that the NFL, which stands for not for long, is doing this for ratings, clicks and likes. That's what Dan Lanning said, Oregon's coach. He said it best, clicks and likes. So if Taylor brings the clicks and the likes, and she brings all these women who know absolutely nothing about football and have no interest in football, the only thing they know is when somebody runs in the other side of the field that somebody has scored. And that's how they leave it vague. They don't know who, they don't know how, they can't tell you a first down.
Nope.
And that's why my show is here, so they can watch and learn. But if Taylor and Travis break up, the ratings are going to go down for the Chiefs.
Oh yeah. Listen, if that happens, I'll tell you what, man. Oh my God, I don't know what the NFL is going to do. It's going to be like, who's the next power couple? And honestly, it may stay there because guess what? Brittany Mahomes likes to throw her face everywhere too.
Brittany is a washed up housewife. I'm tired of her. What's up, Doughboy? I'm tired of her. She just cranks out kids every 18 months. I mean, I'm sorry. I know women are probably going to go in, but my friends always have said I have a mindset like a guy. And so I'm the in-between. Like, don't let the curls and the makeup fool you.
I love it.
She is just a housewife that's trying to get some business. We didn't even know who they were. Like, Pat and Brittany keep their stuff out of social media. They'll stay married forever, but they don't bring the hype that Travis and Taylor do, because Taylor was already her brand. She's like one of the top 5 richest women. So she got her own money. And let's be clear, Travis was begging her to give her a Travis bracelet that he made and all this stuff. And so, you're like, okay, good for you guys. Go on down there and get married and just keep it moving. As they say, keep it
Exactly.
pushing Pete. But yeah, yep, it would stay on Pat and Brittany. And she does have no business at all. Who's the power couple in well, correction. Jalen Hurts got a beautiful fiance. Congratulations to him. They got engaged last year, I believe. They're taking things slow. And he just seems like a really good guy. The Philadelphia team as a whole, Nick Sirianni, I mean, doing big things up there, and looks like he just like the maturation was a natural progression. We didn't expect him to jump in and start winning championships off the rip, but he has not tanked the team either. What are your thoughts on
Almost.
Sirianni?
Almost. He almost did.
Almost, yeah,
Yeah,
almost. He
almost.
did last year. We were like,
Yeah, he like one thing about Philadelphia is and you're starting to see this being dictated across is this is Jeffrey Lurie's team and Howie Roseman's teams like that. Like, the whole point is, and I'll take people back real fast is, Jeffrey Lurie, when he had Andy Reid, the biggest thing about Andy Reid was, Andy, he was trusted Andy Reid with everything he did. And, because Andy Reid bought into the Eagle way. So when Andy Reid left, Jeff took a shot and Jeff went outside the box and Jeff brought in a guy named Chip Kelly. And this was the hot commodity coming out of college and coming out of Oregon and he gave him all the power and he shouldn't have. And I think that's the one mistake Jeffrey Lurie made, but he knew that. And ever since that, he when he brought in Sirianni, it was like, look, you're not going to take control of this. I control the team. What I need you to do is I need you to take my culture that we have and I need you to implement it and make sure that it stays true. And that's what's happened. And you know what, to be honest with you, before the bye, after they were 2-2. Okay. You saw Nick Sirianni popping off to the fans, popping off to the media, right? There was a lot of stuff going on. He got called in the office, man, like a school kid. During the bye, and they said, listen, we didn't bring you here back this year for this. It's got to stop. And once it stopped, lo and behold, he changed, the team changed, and now we're in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's almost like I said, a natural progression. And it takes not just, I know it's an adage, they say it takes a team effort. It takes a team effort for real. Like you need all your coordinators, all your teammates, all your coaches on spot to do it cohesively, because one mistake, I mean, it's kind of like when you go to a setting and somebody says, well, there will never be the same group of people here next time. This will be your only one and done time of every single person being there. And it's true. People have other commitments. People go other places. Unfortunately, people don't live to be, to the next occasion, or there's an extra person. So it could go either way. It has to be the perfect recipe. Like you said, it's extremely difficult to get back. And I am just excited to know that you all have gone from wild card elimination last year by the Tampa Bay Bucks to all the way up. I will say this though, Tony. I felt like Washington, being the novice team they are, I don't want to say it's because they were novice with the quarterback, Jaden Daniels, because Dan Quinn has been here before. This was his redemption run in the Super Bowl. Everybody's been blowing him out for this 28-3 that he had with the Atlanta Falcons. And from that point, he never head coached again. He was defensive coordinator with Dallas. This was his debut to come back to Washington, who finished 4-12 last year. This year, with the loss, they're 12-6. Absolutely outstanding, nothing to be ashamed of, but those encroachments by Frankie Lavu, former Carolina Panther. Second and long was like 4 times, almost to the point of you guys being awarded a point. Let's just put it out there. Everybody's sick of the tush push, Tony. Everybody's sick of the brotherly butt push, the BBT. BBP. We are sick of it. We thought that last season the league was going to look at it. They said they were going to, whatever they do. I don't want to say outlaw because I don't think there's a law. Outrule it, overrule it, or whatever. You guys still doing it. First and whatever, you can believe that Jalen Hurts or somebody is going to be pushed by the entire O-line. Washington folded under that pressure because they were so frustrated that they were encroaching. They were offsides. They were doing all kind of stuff because they were being beat on, and they just finally folded up like a lawn chair. Is this because of the rookie, Jaden Daniels, the fact that team is young? I think the average age on there is like 27, and the maturation of the Eagles. A lot of you guys have been there before from the O-line. You got Smith, you got Brown, of course, you have now added Saquon, the missing piece seemingly from New York. We'll talk about that in a minute, and we'll talk about all of this right after we come back from a small break.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Hi, guys. I'm back with Tony Cutillo of the Tony Cutillo Show, Rise and React Media. Tony, we kind of had to put a pause in there because I forgot to give a shout out to the Huddle Sports Network. And we got some comments coming in, but I'll first let you address the questions before the break.
So here's the thing about the tush push, right? I know everybody hates it, but got to give a shout out to one of the most consummate professionals in all the NFL, and that's Bobby Wagner. And, when they went to Bobby Wagner afterwards and they mentioned the same thing that you were talking about, and then they talked about that play, and he goes, look, man, like, it's the best play in football. Like, it can't be stopped. He's like, if I would run it every time too, like, why not? But here's the funny thing, everybody just says they're tired of it. And this goes back to the whole Jalen Hurts thing. Buffalo couldn't run it. Buffalo didn't understand how to run it. There's one thing you mentioned earlier about Jason Kelce. Everybody said, well, was Jason Kelce? Well, Jason Kelce's gone. Cam Jurgens is here. Well, Cam Jurgens got hurt, and then Landon Dickerson was here. One constant, that's Jalen Hurts. We have a quarterback that can bench 600 pounds.
Yeah,
okay.
that was crazy.
Like, come on, man. Like, there's a reason why it works. I mean, my man is so strong. And, again, I know people are tired of it, but as long as it keeps working, we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, and so of course I've been bashed in the comments by Doughboy, who's like, boy, the ref screwed the Bills bad Sunday in the AFC Championship game.
I agree.
D'Amico Ryan said, when you play Kansas City Chiefs, you play against everybody. Now that's true. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I mean, you guys got to face that on the 9th. Howie Roseman goal is to win a Super Bowl, and then he wants to know why I'm talking bad about the Eagles with the tush push. And he wants to know what about the Kansas City Thieves. So we're going to talk about all those, Doughboy. Thank you for interrogating me. This is clearly one of my subscribers that is off TikTok. Thanks for subscribing, Doughboy. I appreciate you keeping your word on that. Tony, I mean, we talked a little bit about how Washington do you think it was just they weren't prepared, or that Philadelphia was just that good?
Listen, this isn't a homer take. It's not a biased take. Philly's just that good. And, Washington's got a great team. They do. It's a young, listen, nobody, you can't discount what Jaden Daniels did this year. You just can't. But he also is a rookie. I no, and I said this before, and I'll say it again. I was saying it all week. I said, look, as much as I respect them, he's still a rookie. And when you go up against a veteran Hall of Fame defensive coordinator like Vic Fangio, guess what? He's going to show looks that you probably didn't see. He's going to show you things you probably didn't see. If you go back and this is really relatable, which was good. Patrick Mahomes, his kryptonite is Vic Fangio. When the Philadelphia Eagles, before Vic Fangio was even their defensive coordinator, the Super Bowl year, they brought him in. They brought Fangio in as a special assistant on a 2-week contract just to devise a game plan against Pat. And the first thing Pat said was like, dude never shows the same link twice. So think about that. That's a Hall of Fame. And now you have Jaden Daniels seeing that same look, right? Listen, the future is bright in Washington. I'm a big Dan Quinn fan. I think there's nobody else that really riles up the troops like a Dan Quinn. He's a great head coach. I'm a big I feel bad for Terry McLaurin. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I love Scary Terry. He's one of them dudes who don't pop.
Yeah, he is.
Right? I mean, he is true. And sucks, man, that he doesn't get that opportunity. But they're going to be back there. They're not going to be silent. They'll be heard for the next couple of years, man. So future's bright, Washington.
Yeah, do you think, okay, my opinion was this. Washington, if you were going to lose like that, y'all should have let Detroit go ahead. Because I'm going to be honest, I had Detroit versus the Bills for my pick.
Wow.
I don't remember if I picked them at the beginning of the season. I might have said the Ravens. But I definitely didn't have you guys. And I did not have the Chiefs again because, I'm like everybody, we're sick of them.
Yeah.
And so I felt like, I actually feel like the Chiefs could be taken out by the Steelers as a sneak card, kind of like Tasha spoke about earlier, like they'll be here. But do you think a Detroit versus Eagles game would have been different?
It's funny. I wasn't a believer in Detroit. So, I'm not a Jared Goff fan. Never was, never will be. And I hate to say it, but, the two guys who I really backed the least, which was Sam Darnold and Jared Goff, just showed their true colors, in my opinion. And unfortunately, listen, Patrick Mahomes, you mentioned Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. These are winners. These are guys, Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills. I don't think Jared Goff goes into that conversation. So when you have that, and you have, listen, no disrespect to Dan Campbell, but he's not ready, man. Like, that when a lot of people were talking about the fake punt that happened to Dan Quinn, right, which I thought was brilliant, and they said if Dan Campbell would have done that, we would have killed him for it. But because Dan Quinn did it, nobody said anything. And you know what? They're right. It's because Dan Quinn's been there. Dan Quinn understands. Dan Quinn has been around a long time. Dan Campbell out there just shooting stuff off his foot, like whatever. Like, I'm just going to do it, and eventually, that kind of mindset got that team hurt because the defense was hurt and tired. So I don't know if it would have been a better game, but I was with you, though. I will say this. You mentioned Pittsburgh. I thought Pittsburgh was going to upset some people. My favorite coach is Mike Tomlin. I'm a huge Mike Tomlin guy. And I thought, you know what? Russ is going to cook a little bit, and they got the confidence, and they could have turned some heads. It just didn't happen. But now I think this is the best matchup for football. I really do.
Yeah, and I want to kind of delve into that because you do talk sports. You do have your own show, so we can kind of talk about that. And they're within the same state as you guys are. But I want to wrap up some other thoughts on the Super Bowl now because you're my first guest since you guys have made the Super Bowl. I had the Philly sports guy on here, Pags, a couple of weeks ago prior to you guys making it past Washington. I'm going to tell you, I just felt like the underdog could pull it out. I think that novice, the maturation has not, taken place with Washington, but I'm extremely excited and proud of where they are. Jaden Daniels seems very grounded, very coachable, and can learn from whatever mistakes he made. Even the frustration, I remember him saying before he took the field, the last thing his dad said to him was, don't let the moment consume you. Don't let the moment be bigger than the game itself. And so I think just the frustrations, is just exactly where we're going in. And hello, willing to go home. Tony, my man, someone speaking to
Oh,
you.
that's my man checking in. That's
Thank
my
you for
man. What's up,
joining us,
brother?
Willing. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that we have to take into account because the off season is not as long as what we're thinking. We got Roger Goodell talking about 20 weeks now. So they're going to pull 2 weeks. I don't know when. I know the NFLPA has the vote on that. That's the National Football Players League Association. So that's comprised of current players and former players who have to vote on this and say, hey, is this what we really want? But Goodell is trying to get 2 weeks from the preseason, and add them on, have everybody kind of take a break around week 13, 14 for their bye week and extend the league. I mean, at this point, they'll be playing football until March, I guess, until the XL League, bonds up or what have you. Hey, Bo, good to see you. Bo Crouch, the person I gave a shout out to earlier, guys, the gentleman behind my backdrop. Bo is on. And I told them about the senior boat out there in Mobile. So hopefully some people can join you and let you know how that and check in and enjoy that with you, Bo. Sorry about that. I mean, we just see so much that happens. Now, you brought up a good point. First of all, good luck in the Super Bowl. You got the whole country pulling for you guys. Definitely want to have you back on after the Super Bowl, Tony, so we can talk about your thoughts on the game and, if you guys were cheated or not, because, Seattle had the 12th man. And I think the 12th man for Kansas City is the refs. I mean, they may as well be wearing red and white suits instead of black and white stripes. That's their 12th man, and they travel with them. So there you go. Chefs and refs is what I call them. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin seems to be at his peak of frustration. I mean, you bring in Fields and Wilson, and you start Fields. Fields is 4-2, and then all of a sudden you bring Wilson in. Now all of a sudden Wilson is not the answer. Several interceptions, no injuries reported as we know of. Denver's still paying him. I don't know. I know last year they were talking about Tomlin possibly taking a break. Do you think he may take a break from, coaching, maybe go in the booth for a season or two like Sean Payton and then return? Or do you think he goes on? I mean, Pittsburgh does not terminate their coaches.
No, he's a lifer, man. He's all business. He hears the noise, right? He hears the noise about the playoff record. He understands it. And I'll be honest with you, he did a hell of a job this year with, what he did. And, he took a young guy in Justin Fields who was completely, he was dismantled by that moron Matt Eberflus out there in Chicago, right? And he brings him in and he mentors him. And he says, you know what? I'm going to show everybody this kid can play. Then you bring in Russ, which I thought was another fantastic idea. And when he went to Russ, see, a lot of people are like, nah, man, no, they didn't understand. Even though they were winning, he also knew that Fields wasn't ready for the prime time yet. And he wasn't getting, so he was like, look, if I can get one more year out of Russ, I think it'll, and again, listen, and he did, right? He did. They just didn't have enough, right? They just didn't have enough. And, I think this will be the year because I think they're going to pay one of those guys. I think it's going to be Fields. You already hear all the rumors of Wilson going out there to Vegas to be with Pete Carroll, to be reunited. We'll see what happens there. But I think it's got a good future with Justin Fields. I really do.
Yeah, and speaking of moving around, I almost forgot to ask you. Looks like Kellen Moore, you guys' offensive coordinator, is now in the top rankings to be considered the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints. I mean, we see how the Detroit Lions have started to disintegrate their nucleus with Ben Johnson going to, of all people, the NFC North rival, the Chicago Bears. And I just feel like when you go to an actual rival, this is a little bit different for you guys, even though it's NFC to NFC, it's not NFC East like how Saquon was from the Giants to you guys. And we'll talk about that in a minute as we wrap up about 10 minutes here left. The time flies, guys. Do you think, that losing an offensive coordinator and more would be detrimental to you guys getting back, or that's kind of too far? You're just worried about what's happening now?
I mean, it's the drawbacks of being good, right? Like it happens all the time, right? And if I was Kellen Moore, I wouldn't take the job. Easy for me to say, right? Because nobody's offered me millions of dollars to be head
Yeah,
coach.
and you're a fan. You want them to stay so you guys can
Well,
go back
yeah,
again.
you know what? I'll say this. It's not necessarily that I want him to stay for me and for the team. I want him to stay for him because that is a disaster in New Orleans. They are in cap hell. They have no structure. Ownership is bad. Everything. So, in my opinion, I would rather Kellen go to a place where I feel like he can actually excel. And I think that you go to New Orleans to die right now. So I think that he doesn't give himself, a deserve, and
Nice.
listen, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, like you said, Detroit, studs. Aaron Glenn, absolute stud, man. Like, if anybody can turn the Jets around, it's going to be Aaron Glenn. And Ben Johnson, man, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to sleep on him. I was skeptical. Some people are just better off being coordinators, but just watching his mannerisms and understand, yeah, I think they got him a gem out there in Chicago.
Definitely a gem in Chicago. Bo makes a good point. He's definitely not stepping aside. He's been down here the last 2 days evaluating talent in person. So, the NFC South, I'm from the NFC South with the Panthers. And of course, I live in Atlanta now, so I get to see it up close and personal. We have been literally the coaching quarterback carousel of the entire league. Every season, somebody in the freaking South is getting a new coach or a new quarterback. Like, just look at it. Like, this is not me just blowing smoke. Legit, it's real. The Panthers, the Falcons, Tampa got, Baker after a couple of seasons from the Panthers.
Yep.
It's the recycling bin down here at the bottom of the league, honestly, to be honest. Like, our rankings are really bad compared, to some of the other divisions. But, I feel like Dan Campbell said it best. He talked about how difficult it was to get back. I've never been sold on Jared Goff. I still didn't understand why they got rid of the gunslinger. I like Matt Stafford. His wife had a community ties. She had unfortunately battled a brain disease while she was in Detroit. And, the Lions team, the Lions fans absolutely supported her. And so, they had built that familial relationship. And so fans, were stunned. But however, when Stafford came back to the Lions Den, as no pun intended, and he got like an ovation. He said he'd never heard that stadium so rowdy in all the 12 years that he had been there, because the Lions believed. And now last season they said it was hard to get back, and they got back this season. But now your offensive coordinator has left, and so you just don't know. CJ DeSimone, hi brother, what's up? Jets fan, he could tell you best. Sometimes bringing in big names like Aaron Rodgers, and in this case Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions, may or may not be, advantageous to Chicago, but it will definitely probably be, well, definitely and probably, you can't say either one, who will likely be disadvantageous to the Lions trying to go back for a third time, considering they've never gone to the Super Bowl and they haven't even gotten any championships since '93.
Oh, it's going to be interesting to see who gets picked, right? Because now Dan Campbell's got to go out there and find two guys, right? He's got to get an offensive coordinator. He's got to get a defensive coordinator, and is that the recycle period? Is it going to last longer than a year or two, right? So we shall see. It's going to be interesting. But I will say this, you mentioned your teams, man. Like, I'll be honest with you about Carolina, man. I am so impressed by Bryce Young. I don't want that to go unnoticed. I think, you know, being what he was done to him by being benched and then him taking it in stride and
Mm-hmm.
saying, you know what, I'm gonna come back and be better than I was, and he did, and I think he's got a bright future. And you mentioned in Tampa with what was going on. You get Baker and coming on, but Atlanta, man, right? I'm a Raheem Morris fan. Like I've always been a Raheem Morris fan. I'm so happy for that dude to get that opportunity again, and just show how passionate he is and how much of a solid educator he is of the NFL. And listen, not many people would have done what he did. Bench a $1 million arm in Kirk
Yes.
Cousins, right? And go with the
For
young boy.
Michael Penix
Yep.
Jr. Now the draft makes sense as they
Yes.
picked at number 8. And even Kirk didn't know until minutes before it happened. They called him like, hey, we're taking a quarterback. And I know he was stunned, but he prayed with him. They showed a video of him praying with him. I mean, way to really show, he could have gone into his feelings like, how dare you bench me for a rookie who has not even shown any type of performance. But like I said, NFL, not for long. Raheem Morris has his work cut out for him in Atlanta as they continue to try on quarterbacks like shoes. They had Desmond Ritter, they had Marcus Mariota. They've had a gang of quarterbacks too, just like Carolina. And I do want to state that this was the first year. This year felt better for me for Carolina because we went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. They almost lost. Had they really, counted that catch by Adam Thielen that was robbed from us, we would have beat the Chiefs, but again, it's the refs. And I will say the maturation of Bryce Young was incredible to watch because he, people talked about his size. I probably was even like, hey, they should have let him sit and learn. But his size became the benefit for him. He was able to scramble out of the pocket where, defenders were reaching up. He was down here. So he was able to go under and, duck and dodge and get those first down yards. And, we found our franchise quarterback. So we're excited about that. Bringing in Dan Canales from Tampa was the missing piece because he is the quarterback whisperer. He was one. And the fact that Tepper stayed out of the business this year instead of being so medley, all the other coaches had like 6 weeks to 8 weeks before off with your head. I think, his PR person finally got to him and was like, hey, you're tossing drinks on people in Jacksonville. You got to slow it down, bro. So we were glad to see him take a back step and to let the team mature as it is. We hope Adam Thielen comes back for another year. We know he's getting up there as far as, age and everything. We hope that the draft picks we made with Jonathan Brooks gets better, that the Panthers actually fired like some of their medical staff because they had cleared Brooks before he was ready and he got re-injured. And of course, we want Xavier Legette to be better with getting those crucial catches. Tommy Tremble, Tommy's a free agent. All these guys are going on social media now, basically making it known they want to come back to Carolina next year. And so once again, we're in rebuild. We've been continuously rebuilding since 2016 when we were in the Super Bowl. And we are now 9 years, Tony. And I started the show by saying every team is built to go back to the playoffs within 7 to 10 years.
Well, 7 to 10 years. I honestly think that with the way that you mentioned earlier about the rookies for the Philadelphia Eagles being able to step up and play in year one, I honestly think that's 7 to 10 years now. I think you're built like every 2 to 3 years if you draft.
It seems much quicker. It does.
And here's the other thing about that too. I think a lot of it is pertaining to the NFL style offenses that are being taught in the big programs in college. Because remember back in the day, these kids would come in and it was such an eye-opening experience because they were always out there running with nobody. Like, they didn't have any bump and run coverage out there. They were just opening. Like, I remember when Jeremy Maclin came here for the Philadelphia Eagles, it was like, oh, I mean, this dude is running. He's used to running free. He wasn't used to getting off the line, right? Well, now it's different. Now they play so similar that I think that 7 to 10 drops down to 2 to 3. And if you could draft well, if you could hit on like your top 3 picks or 2 out of 3, it could be even quicker than that.
Yeah, and CJ's right. He says, it all depends on the offense system that they're running.
Yep.
People need to realize this is not Madden. Like everybody wants
Yes.
instantaneous. Like you said, fans want a microwave product, and it doesn't work that way. Breaking news a couple of hours ago that may be even better for you, Tony. And we'll probably go a little bit past the 10 o'clock hour since you were tardy for the party. I want to make sure you get a chance to tell the audience, and if we need to say goodbye to our Northeast Professional platform, that's fine. If they have a 10 o'clock show coming on, I know my platform will continue to carry on. And as we have a lot of views right now, thank you everybody for coming on and viewing tonight. We really appreciate you guys. The Eagles, Brandon Graham, may be making a surprise return. He was injured in week 12, I think it was. And you guys, a 37-20 win over the Rams. And so he's 15 years all in Philadelphia, and he may be coming in at the 11th hour. You guys are paying him 1 year. He's got to finish that 1-year contract out, basically $4 million. And he signed it last March, so it's almost up again. So he may be coming in for Super Bowl. Have you heard that?
Yeah, he's I think it's a really big deal. And a really, I would say the percentage is probably about like 98% that he plays. And, he was on the radio today and he was saying, he's been through a lot of injuries his career. And he said this has actually been the easiest rehab that he's ever had. So that's a good thing. And Brandon Graham, this was supposed to be his swan song. And the funny thing was when he came in, the swan song was supposed to be, okay, this is going to be the farewell tour of Brandon Graham. And Vic Fangio was like, yo, cuz, like, you're not done. Like, there was just something that sparked Brandon Graham. Number one, fantastic person in the community. And he dealt with a lot of adversity. People forget about that. Like, nobody here in Philadelphia, even me, wanted Brandon Graham. We wanted Earl Thomas. We were pissed that they passed on Earl Thomas. They drafted Brandon Graham.
Yeah,
then,
I remember that.
Yes. So, and Brandon Graham was a late bloomer, right? He didn't give us those stats until about 4 or 5. So for like 3 or 4 years, we were all hearing he's a bust. We look at Earl out there balling out with the Legion of Boom, and what's he do? Strip sack with Tom Brady, first Super Bowl, and now who knows? Maybe he gets a strip sack of Patrick Mahomes now too.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, but to me, this kind of bleeds in the personal professional. Earl Thomas had his drama out there. That whole taking a knee thing, people really got emotionally involved to the point. I don't know if you remember. Well, I'm sure you remember. There was a while they didn't even play the national anthem at some of the games because they were like, you know what? This is becoming so contentious that, it started with Colin Kaepernick, who they said was really kneeling on the side. And that it was really out of honor of military and stuff like that he had talked to some military personnel. But Earl Thomas was doing it himself with the Legion of Boom. And I feel like, when it came time for him to possibly come to some other teams, that kind of overshadowed because people were like, you know what? Sometimes your performance, we don't want to deal with the drama, the backlash, because that stuff does bleed over. I started the show talking about how we saw Jalen Hurts literally just detached from the team last season. All kind of rumors swirling around, of course, that there were some locker room issues with some players and players' relatives and significant others or what have you. What'd you hear up there, Tony?
So I think a lot of it at that time was actually a reverse effect, right? There was a lot of young guys at that time that wanted new leaders. And no disrespect to Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox, but sometimes voices get stagnant. And, what was happening is a lot of the issues in that locker room were they felt like Jason and Fletch were allowed to do certain things that maybe they weren't allowed to do. And, instead of saying, hey man, he's a veteran, he's earned it right away. We live in a different society now, right? Like, for 20 years, I worked in a union environment where I used to be like, yo, son, well, you can put your feet up when you understand how to do my job, right? So,
Mhm.
but in this society that we live in, this new generation, man, they like 2 weeks, they want to do what the dude's been doing for 20 years. So I think a lot of that clashed. And once Jason left and Fletch left, the new breed came in, and now you actually had young guys that were leaders.
Mhm.
And it changed a little bit, and I think that's what. Listen, it happens on all teams, but again, when you play in Philadelphia, you play in New York, you play in a city that's elevated by their media base, it's always going to be a top story.
Yeah, and you guys stay elevated in the media base. I mean, I always kind of joke. I mean, no offense to the millennials, but some of them are so lazy. If they were paid to
Ooh,
sleep, they would wake up and quit.
I
And
agree.
that's saying a lot. And so
They ain't
these
built like
millennials,
us. They ain't built
huh?
like us. They ain't
Yes,
built
they're
like us.
not. They're not like us, like Kendrick Lamar
No,
says.
nope,
I mean, they
absolutely.
come in with these NIL deals where they've already made millions of dollars in college. And so they come in here not with a mindset or a spirit of appreciativeness, but of a spirit of you owe me. They have a you
Yep.
owe me mentality, not realizing that the chances of getting into the NFL league are second to none. And it's extremely competitive. In college, you're competing against other people who may be the best. When you get to the league, you're competing against the best only. And that's why you see a lot of quarterbacks, running backs, all the offensive line, and even defensive players. A little bit, sometimes defensive players do a little bit better because they're kind of drafted later on. But these offensive players sometimes come into the league and get swallowed up. You don't hear about them anymore because they're there. You hear that they were drafted and they just get swallowed up by other people. And next thing you know, they're on a practice squad and they're somewhere selling insurance or cars somewhere. And you're like, oh, I remember this person, and God forbid they get caught up in some type of behavioral issues. They really, we saw that with Johnny Mandel. They really get, swollen up. As we get ready to wrap up the show, I do want to ask you the magic puzzle, or if this is really the piece of the puzzle that the Eagles were missing, because you guys did do so well last year without this person. The New York Giants gifted you. I don't care what they say. We had this whole debate on the network. I'm so sorry, Mac, if you and Linda are watching. I feel like, based on the Hard Knocks clip, Saquon was not really trying to leave New York. There was a clip of the owner, basically saying, do we play Jones or do we pay Saquon? Now Jones was filling in for Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville because he wanted to leave after he was benched for like the third position. And then you don't have Saquon. And I just feel like they're waiting for you guys to win the Super Bowl, and then heads are going to roll in New York. Number one, part A was Saquon, the person that was really needed. I mean, you guys literally just ignited as if you weren't already on fire. Like, you guys had like the match struck, but when he came, it was just like explosive.
Yeah, it's funny. We really flipped the script because a lot of people said that there's two positions, and they're right, that we would never pay in Philadelphia, and that is linebacker and running back. But I actually just did I dropped a little segment about this today, that the Philadelphia Eagles, and it goes back to our previous conversation, are all about culture. And it's not about the position, it's about the person. And even though they didn't value running back, as much as a person of Saquon's status, they valued his people, his people energy, his people personality, the teammate that he was, the father that he was.
Mhm.
That's the Philadelphia Eagle way. So for them, they were paying Saquon the person, and to get the talent was actually beneficiary to them. And I'm going to be honest, that's how they roll here in Philadelphia. And I knew he was going. Listen, I'm going to tell you that I knew he was going to be good. But 2,000 plus yards, good. I can't say I
Yeah,
knew he
and
was
I'm
going to be
sure
that good.
he surpassed Eric Dickerson by now with that record, I'm sure,
Ooh,
right?
man.
He's
Well,
been They've been
yeah.
talking about that record for quite a while. And so you know, Eric Dickerson went on the record, said he didn't want him to break his record. I'm like, dude, you've had that record for forever. let someone come in and be their best version of themselves. I do love the way Saquon loves on his family. He seems very centered, not
Yep.
hoopla and all that stuff that you see around a lot of athletes. He just came and like you said, you guys were paying for Saquon the person, and he brought so much talent to the organization, and no doubt a Robin to Jalen Hurts as Batman for the postseason and everything.
100%, man. I mean, his smile, his team first mentality, it's infectious, and you get a bunch of Saquon Barkley's on your team and a bunch of Jalen Hurts on your team. I'll tell you what, man, it's a huge brotherhood, and it's hard to stop. It really is.
It's the city of brotherly love, and we've been sitting with Tony Cutillo, Tony Cutillo Show. You guys follow him. Just such a blessing to have you on, Tony. Definitely want to have you back on here after February 9th so that we could, get your reaction to your Super Bowl. I'm sure you're going to be excited, especially when you guys win. So I know it'll be a little bit after the 9th. I want to thank everybody for coming on, supporting myself, supporting Tony on tonight. Thank you guys for everyone who sent me the private messages of happy birthday. Friday night, Friday with the fellas, J Train, A Train, and Kevin will be filling in for me on Friday. I will also have someone filling in on next Wednesday, and I will return, God willing, on the following Friday, Super Bowl Friday weekend, February the 7th. And we'll be having all new shows coming there. Tony, it's been great. We hope that you will join us again. You have an open invitation, brother. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And safe travels as well.
Thank you so much, everybody. We wish you a good night. And thanks for tuning in to Prim and Proper Sports. This show will re-air at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Northeast Professional Sports. Good night.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.